which is this example that I was giving, voice transcription, because one thing is like we're talking, but then, what about, I don't know, I have an accent, so people that might not understand my accent, and it would be nice to have, the subtitles. But then also, because I have an accent, is the computer actually going to understand? Anyway, so that's kind of like, it's, I think I gave you a lot of information. Basically, Nextiva wants to human connection. We focus on smaller companies because we want to really democratize access to this technology. Amazon, Microsoft continue to be successful because they have the money to make their technology work for them. But what about, an entrepreneur that is trying to get their business off? They really don't have a lot of resources. So we're building these applications or this software so that right out the box, you can start seeing a lot of value.
Well, it sounds like an all-in-one package where an entrepreneur can go to get all of the different services that they need. And I love that it sounds user-focused, user-based, so that it has that intelligence for human interaction. And what is your
Yeah.
role? What's your specific role, Ruth, in the company?
Yeah, sure. So my role, I would say that I have two. One, and like the one that it's in my job title, yeah, it's director for global technology experience. So at Nextiva, we created something called technology experience, and I have a video that talks about that. But in brief, I would say that what technology experience is we understand that engaging software engineers, or we call them technologists, engaging technologists to want to come work or be part of your project of your company, it's something that requires a lot of effort, right? And again, like, think about the Amazon, the Googles, all of them. They kind of like, it's not really that hard for them because they already have this whole PR, and like everybody wants to work with them. I mean, maybe that is changing now, but that's basically how it has been. Now, companies like ours, companies that are growing, companies that are medium sized, what we need to do is we need to figure out ways so that we can really show our value to potential candidates so that you want to be part of our project. So that's one thing. Then the other thing is that once you get them, and once you engage with them, and once they become part of your team, now, a bunch of other companies are going to try and take that talent. So you also need to make sure that their experience within your company, and this is beyond, like HR and engagement, or employee engagement, it's more like that they are working on things that are interesting, that we're giving them the right tools that they need, that we're also giving them opportunity to connect with each other, that we understand that technologists need to continue to learn every time because technology continues to evolve. And that's where, like, our program comes in. So what we do is that, for example, we do a lot of community outreach for technical communities such as GDI. We also do, like our lunch and learns that we call Devs and Bytes, where we have our own engineers talking about technical stuff with our other engineers. We also do tech talks, which is basically the same thing, but now we open it up for everybody to hear about that. Events such as our AI paper talks. As I mentioned, we do a lot of artificial intelligence work. So then we also have these paper talks where we really talk about the research that is going on. So it's not only the fluff that we want to say, hey, come work with us, we're cool. It's more that we want to show what are the types of products that we're working on. And so that is technology experience. And for that, I am the director. It's the title says global because we have people in the US, people in Canada, people in Mexico. And then in addition to that, also the general manager for our R&D office in Mexico as well. Like in Mexico, we also have a bigger R&D office. I come from Mexico, and so I'm also an engineer. And so I'm really passionate about bringing really good opportunities to to my fellow engineer Mexicans, where they can really put their creativity to work.
Oh, yes. We were just talking in the other panel about the importance of diversity in tech because we are designing computers that control our world or programs that control our world. And if we are not represented, then we can get left behind in those programs. And the programs themselves can become racist or exclusive and not address us. So definitely agree with that. Now, you've spoken a lot to this point that I'm about to ask you, but maybe you could tell me specifically, um, why do you like specifically working with Nextiva, and what sets this company apart from those other companies that everybody, wants to work for, the Googles and
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so my particular, this is, my own experience. And my own experience with Nextiva has been that Nextiva gave me a chance, and then they continued to give me opportunities and guidance. And the other thing is that I come from the startup world, right? Like before, like this is like the first big company that and it's not, like maybe we're like 1700, but, um, and so for me that has been really important. What has been really important is that in a startup, you kind of like, what you do is that you don't really have a role assigned. It's kind of like you have a guidance of what you're supposed to be doing, but then like if something happens, you need to go jump and like figure it out, because if you don't do that, like there's no one else that is going to do it. So at Nextiva, for me, like we're a company that is, I would say that we are a fast paced change environment. And so there are people, and I acknowledge this, and this is okay, and this is good. And this also comes back to diversity. There are people who prefer a or do not thrive in an environment like this one. There are people that really need, I just want to focus, give me what are the set of things that I need to do, and I will work on that and I will deliver the results. And they're really efficient doing that. For me, I am not. Like if you give me like a specific thing and like the points and this is what you need to do, like I just like get frustrated and get tired, because I'm like, but what about the rest of the other things that I could be, maybe doing something. So for me, this fast-paced environment, for me also, what I've seen or what I've experienced at Nextiva is that it's, at least our technology organization is like flat, like in the sense that it doesn't, like I report to the CTO, which that is a fantastic opportunity. But then like I can send a message to whoever, and they reply to me, right? Like it's not like this, you need to go to all these levels and like ping this person so they can ping this other one. And so I personally, I really like that. I know that there are people that might not, and that prefer, more structure. I am not one of those people. And so the amount of opportunity that I've been given, which is typically, it's like, okay, you say that you want to do this, okay, go ahead and bring the results. That has been really good for me here at Nextiva. And then honestly, we work, our team is full of really, really kind and smart people. And so whenever I am in trouble about something, or whenever I need help, or I'm asking for feedback about like what are the things that we should be doing, people are just so kind in, like in the way that they talk to me, I would say, talk to each other and share their feedback and help us build better programs.
Well, I mean, it sounds like a very it sounds like a lot of opportunity for diversity in your company. So, but what are some key skills? That being said, about that, it's not very specific all the time what you have to do. But are there some key skills that you see in high demand? And are you hiring right now? What are some types of jobs that you'll be hiring for now and in the future?
So right now, right now we're not really hiring. I don't think that we're hiring a lot in the US. Um, but I can tell you what are the skills that are important and that I'm sure that we will be hiring soon enough. And one of them is one of them is Java, like and I'm going to talk about software development. Java, like a lot of software is built with Java. Now, one that is good and it's getting even more traction and everybody wants a piece of it because there are not a lot of developers is JavaScript, which is front end, but with React. So really learning React, JavaScript. And that is, then I would say that the other one, the one that it's up and coming that we also use at Nextiva is Golang. But that one, it's even harder to find talent because there is not a lot of people really using Golang. But Golang is a programming language that was built by Google. So that is the one that it's up and coming. Um, in terms of other, whenever I talk to college grads or students doing their software engineering degree, I ask them if they're teaching them anything about observability, site reliability, and DevOps. And it seems that it's not. No, like the classes in college are not, or universities are not covering these topics. And this is also another one that it's not even up and coming. It's like it's already here, and we just need people that can figure that out. So things such as Kubernetes, Docker, like these things that have to do with the infrastructure of developing software and how you deploy applications and how you move, how you build redundancies and how you architect so that if this container goes down, then we need to send it to this other one, and like reliability and scalability. And so then that would be the other one that it's really, really important, because again, like as you were like, this world is driven by technology and built. It's not only building the technology, but it's also like, okay, where do we put the technology? And that all of it lives in the cloud or servers, right? Like in servers, in containers. And so that is also really important. It's a skill that it's really difficult to find, but that every company needs to have.
Yeah, as someone who is seeking a job now myself, I look at other people's portfolios, other candidates, and I compare what I have. Now, some people don't have seem to have a portfolio at all, and then some people have these really extravagant, websites that they build, e-commerce sites and things. And I wonder, how do you stand out in that crowd? What exactly are these companies looking for? Because I see people get hired from all the different types of portfolios that I've described. So is it that when these companies, and specifically your company, is listing the requirements, do you have to meet every single requirement, or is it good to
No,
focus on one thing and do really well at that?
well, I would say that, and maybe what I'm going to say, some people are not going to like. But for example, we have a constant back and forth with our talent, like our recruiting team, because we believe that we need to create our job descriptions as broad as possible, right? And we think that we need to do that because we don't want to have someone not want to apply because they feel overwhelmed by the amount of specifics. Now, I understand that this is also really difficult because, like, if you just see like this, like really general description, then what do you do, right? So this is a constant situation that we face. We do keep as much as possible our job descriptions really general, but we do mention certain technologies. Now, in the technology world, there is always going to be a new tech stack that it's going to come out. Um, what we do care a lot about, and this is typically, you see this from a CV perspective, you can see it in the amount of personal projects, or yeah, like diversity of projects someone has done. But in an interview, what we do care about is um, the 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 ability of a candidate to understand the problem, the question, the ability for them to ask questions, but then also asking the right questions. There's no right and wrong, but sometimes you have people that just like ask a lot during an interview, and it but maybe they just like to talk a lot, but then they're not really asking what's important to solve that problem. And so then that is one thing. Then the other one is, their understanding and abstraction of, okay, I understood the problem, then now how do I face it? Coming with a huge solution that is just like overcomplicated, it's not going to help anybody. The other thing is that we have a talk. If you go to YouTube, and you search for approachable software, you would find a talk that we have, our CTO has, that talks about, also there are these candidates that are so cool and like talk like with all the buzzwords, and then they, when you present them a problem, they start using like this like new stack and new thing that I saw online and da 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 da. And the reality is that sometimes you don't need to be so sophisticated like that, with like using all of these technologies, when you can actually solve the problem using basic technology, make it more simpler, and just like right there, instead of using all of these new stacks or whatever that are just going to make it really difficult for someone else to understand your code. So then it's also about I don't know, like just being humble even in how you're writing code. I don't know if I'm like, if I did answer your question, but I would say themes that we look for in software engineers that want to work at Nextiva is we do ask for experience. Like, what are the types of problems that you have been solving? Have you ever solved a problem with scalability, and how did you go about that? And like, what did you do and how did you see it? We do care about like if they have experience developing, like doing product development and understanding the cycle of product development. But then when we talk with the junior talent, then we would ask them, okay, how are you learning about new things, and how you are, like people that show you that they are working on projects and delivering, even if that is a personal project or work.
Okay. Well, we are coming to the end of our discussion here, but we have a few more minutes left. And I do have another very important question, but I do also want to invite people in the chat. If you have a question for Ruth, you can type it in the chat. But the last question that I have for you is, what advice do you have for folks who are looking for their very first job? And I think, you've talked about product development and about working on projects. How much time do you spend on those type of things as opposed to, I know a lot of people focus on daily leak code, to get comfortable with problem solving and with logic. So what do you recommend, as far as balancing our preparation for people brand new trying to get their first job?
Yeah, so I would say that it's also important. I mean, I know that it's hard to do, but it's important that you kind of like do your due diligence about the company that you're applying to. Because then also, when you start your career, it's important like what company you're part of. More so, like who is like who is the team that you're going to be surrounded by. Now, so then like that would require you to go and like search for Nextiva and see what are the things that we're talking about, what are the things that we're doing. The other thing would be, um one thing that we suggest is working with the open source community. um the open source community is really welcoming. In the open source community, you can find, senior engineers that are really willing and happy to engage with more junior talent. And in the open source community, you do not have to be contributing to code to make contributions, right? Like you can review a certain thing, you can review the tech specs that someone wrote, and then, like have that. But as you do these small tasks, what you're doing is that you're also building connections with other people. And then that can also help you identify how to like navigate. And I cannot give you a formula, right? Like that doesn't really exist. It depends on who you are and how you go about it. um I would say, yeah, like I would also say, doing, like trying personal projects with friends. I have a friend, she actually, she did not work at Nextiva, but she was a bartender that wanted to get into software development, and she did a boot camp. And so she didn't even go to school for computer engineering. So she did a boot camp, and then she landed a job with a good company. And it was because she found a group of friends. Like one of her friends was a software engineer, and she found like mentorship. And then, like with that, you just need to show up and like do. It's not like all of a sudden you're just going to get all the code. So then when she was interviewing, she had that. She was preparing because of that feedback that she got one to one from her friend. And now she jumped from like front end JavaScript development to Web3. And she was telling me, right, like, yeah, I'm really interested in this. And I'm like, okay, how did you go about it? Oh, I found this group in Twitter, and like they do, like it's a like a community. And then, and now she's like, she got another job as a developer evangelist working with Web3. And I guess, it's like, it's every path is different. But I would just say, to start somewhere, the open source community, the development community, and you will find your way through it.
Yes, so the importance of networking. It
Yeah.
keeps again and again. Yes, well, I would like to thank you for this conversation. It has been eye-opening. And is there a specific website we should go to if we want to kind of monitor what Nextiva is looking for as far as open roles? Because you did say in the future there might be some openings.
Yeah, so for open jobs, you could go to nextiva.com slash careers. But I would also say, if you can go to YouTube and start following us, you would see there that we have a playlist, Nextiva Technology. And you're more than welcome to follow me either LinkedIn or Twitter. Although Twitter, like I've been posting some crazy stuff lately. But yeah, I mean, yeah, just follow us. I would say that the Nextiva, oh, also Eventbrite, and Eventbrite, Nextiva Technology. We have a lot of tech talks that we do, and there, like I'll be there. I host a bunch of them, and then you can just send me a note if you have any questions as well.
Great. Thank you again so much. This has been a wonderful chat. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. And yes, I am paying the $8 for that, Twitter blue thing. It's the best $8 spending of my life. All right. Well, thank you, everybody.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye bye.